Welcome, viewers, to the Broward County Bar Association's Meet Our Sponsors. In this episode, we will be speaking with Jeff Muchnick. He is the owner operator of Cash Now Funding Group, the Broward County Bar Association's exclusive funding company. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for coming. So, why don't we just get started? Let's get to it. If you could, please tell us a little bit about your company, what exactly you do. How do you interact with attorneys who need to help their clients?
Sure. So we have a full service suite of funding options for attorneys. We offer, your traditional plaintiff funding if a particular plaintiff during the pendency of their litigation can't afford something. A lot of times it's just basic necessities. If you're a carpenter with no Aflac and you break your arm and you're unable to do your trade, well, if you weren't at fault for your car accident and there's insurance involved, it's certainly going to turn into money, but it may take 8 months, but that doesn't keep the bills from coming. And so we come in to assist plaintiffs during the pendency of their actions. However, we also offer every other funding service connected to your typical litigation. So someone wants to have a surgery and it's going through health insurance, but their deductible is $7,500. They need the surgery. The surgeon won't do it without the deductible. We'll come in, pay the deductible so that they can have their surgery. Or we'll finance an entire surgical procedure if they have no health insurance and a doctor's unwilling to do it on a letter of protection. We've also done attorney funding, case cost funding. So like if a lawyer falls into a medical malpractice claim and they're not set up for it financially to pursue it, and it's going to be expensive and they want a partner to come in and help them finance it on a contingency basis, we will come in, evaluate the file, and participate with the lawyer in the costs. So pretty much every vertical within the injury space, we will analyze the situation and we try to produce a one-off product that tailors to that particular situation.
Excellent, excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. You have a unique background in this business. You're actually an attorney. So how does that help you with this business?
Sure. So I went to University of Florida undergrad and Nova for law school down here. I'm actually third generation lawyer. Both my parents and my younger sister are practicing lawyers. So my entire immediate family are lawyers.
Awesome.
I focus primarily on personal injury and family law. I've been doing so, I guess it's been a little over a decade now. And I was a paralegal for 3 years while I was a night student at Nova. So I've been around, day in and day out for about 13, 14 years now, and primarily focused on personal injury. And at some point, about 5 or 6 years ago, I saw my clients taking these cash advances against their cases. And I see the rates these companies were charging. And there were issues. There were issues with the funding process. There was issues with the rates being charged. There was issues with overfunding. There was issues with the lack of reductions, the lack of communication. There was just a bunch of fundamental issues. And most of the individuals in the space are finance oriented. I have the legal background. I didn't have to learn any new skills. So I took my skill set from the PI world, which translated right into underwriting in the finance world. And I came up with a product and a business model that I thought was more like your lawyer's funding company catered toward lawyers. And, we were off to the races, and we've grown about 300% for 4 consecutive years. Even during this pandemic, we were expanding. We fired no one, and it's been off to the races.
Wow. Well, I know we met a couple of years ago, and I think that definitely you being an attorney and understanding the nuances has contributed towards your success and really understanding the needs of the client. So I really like that about your company.
And the needs of the lawyers. To be completely blunt, the transactions with the clients, although we're here to help the clients, they're one-off transactions. You lend this person, Brandon Smith, $500 against their case. When their case is over, it's very unlikely that they're going to have a subsequent case. And even if they do, they may not need funding. So we really focus our efforts on relationship building with the lawyers. So like you'll never have a situation, and you'll never hear of a situation where, there was a certain amount owed to my company, and because of the amount owed and our unwillingness to cooperate with a massive reduction if need be, that they weren't able to get their case settled, or they had to try a case that they wouldn't have had to try because of our loan. That'll just never happen. I know what it's like to be lied to at a depot and scramble to settle a case after I find out that my client wasn't being forthcoming about either the way the accident happened, their prior medical history, whatever it is. I've been there. I know it. And I know that lawyers, especially it being so competitive in the PI space, they have to show value to their clients. So, like for me to take a reduction, I know translates into perceived value from the client on their closing statement. They know what they owed cash now. They know that their lawyer got cash now to take a reduction. And so they save their client money. And I'm happy to provide the reduction because for me, it's about the relationship. And that's all I really care about. My job is build relationships with lawyers and don't mess them up.
So that's a perfect segue, actually. Can you talk a little bit about a unique or notable case situation that you've handled and the outcome?
Sure. So I focus primarily on personal injury. However, I will look at complex commercial cases. And I had a first party hurricane claim for a hotel, which I'll leave unnamed, for a very large sum of money, like a $500,000. Our average transaction is a few $1,000s. So to put it into scale, to give a hotel $500,000 is a large transaction for us because we're kind of like a high volume, low transactional type business model. But I really got along well with the lawyer and the hotel owner, who essentially was getting jerked around by Lloyd's of London, and they were trying to drown him out. And they figured if we take long enough to pay this claim and you can't reopen your hotel after this hurricane, well, then you'll have to go out of business and we won't ever have to pay your claim because you'll just go away. So they said, you know what, we need $500,000 so that we can reopen the lobby and a wing and start to produce revenue and not lose this season. So after like some real tough soul searching, I took a deep breath and we advanced this hotel $500,000. And we had a positive result. And without divulging too much, the hotel absolutely dominated Lloyd's, and they had to pay a large sum of money, and everyone was very happy at that.
Sounds like a good deal for everyone. Win-win.
Yes, it was a win-win, and it was out of the box, and it was certainly unique to the funding space because it's just not something that any companies would touch. But I got comfortable with it, got comfortable with the lawyers, and I'm really kind of all about, if I can get comfortable with a fact pattern, even though I don't practice that area of law, between lawyers, we have, we do have subspecialties, but we all went to law school, and I know enough about enough things to get in trouble. And I was able to kind of understand the nature of the claim itself, and got comfortable with the underwriting, was able to do it. And I think most companies in my space would have immediately said no. So that was a unique story. It was very recent, so it came to mind right away.
So talking about success, tell us a little bit about any awards, recognition that you've received through your company for helping folks or as an attorney and how it relates.
Sure. So, for us, I don't think that there's been much, formal awards for our company per se. However, on a daily basis, I'd say, I'm not even exaggerating, 10 to 15 people cry, thank you so much. You don't understand how much this helps. I mean, like, I would say, of the 50 applications a day we get, 10 of them are people living in their car and you can hear their kids in the background, or live in Michigan or Georgia and there's a cold front and they can't pay their electric. Or they don't have internet and their children can't Zoom school. So for them to get $500 or $1,500 or whatever it is, paramount in that moment in time. And most of our clients are extremely grateful. So, our team just, we really feel like, and we know that we're helping people on the ground level on a daily basis. And for us, that's an award. I don't really need a superlative, but we are helping people on a daily basis in real life situations, and it's bad out there right now. There's a lot of unemployed individuals. There are a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck. Any slight disruption in their finances is just devastating. And so, we're here to help people in those positions, and we're happy to do so.
That kind of award is more gratifying, really, that you're helping people than actually getting some kind of trophy or something from a group. And I totally agree, which really drives me to the next question, which is what sets your company apart from others?
Sure. So I have hit on some of the talking points throughout this question and answer session, but our uniqueness lies in the idea that we understand the dynamic that funding creates. We understand that lawyers don't want their clients to take funding, and we're the funding company that's out here not promoting the product, but saying, listen, we know you don't want to use it, lawyers. We know that you're discouraging your clients from using it. But if you have to use somebody, at least use a company who understands the dynamic, who understands the flow of a PI case, who doesn't know, it's not like a rubric or you fill out a one sheet piece of paper in a vacuum and we can decide what to do with your case. On every single funding, we understand not only, the basics like, liability and insurance coverage and treatment and injury and, but we know like which carriers are better than other carriers, which ones deny liability every time. We have good predictability about which cases will go into lit and which ones will not. And for the cases that are going to go into lit, we'll restructure the contract so that it's non-compounding, so that it doesn't end up ballooning because it takes 3 years. So we're really taking an individualized approach and working with the lawyers to make sure that we don't mess up any of their cases, because it's really easy to give the client too much money, and of course it's spent by the time the case is over. And so they're leveraging an asset that they don't have. And when it's the end of the road and they've already spent that money and their net is small and the money is gone, well, then they turn to their lawyer and they say, lawyer, I don't want to settle. These numbers don't make sense to me. And then the lawyer has to backtrack and say, well, listen, you really would have gotten this, but you borrowed money. And so you did get that, even though it's gone, in addition to what I net. So there is a dynamic, and it's not a positive one, that funding creates on a file that we completely understand and are sensitive to. And to be honest, there's very little people in our industry that are doing what we're doing with respect to that kind of attention to detail.
Yeah, I mean, when we connected a couple of years ago, that's what I was really liked about you and your company was that, I mean, look, it tends to be very mercenary out there, some of these companies, and that was not your approach, and I really appreciated that, because you're right. I want our lawyers, our members, to work with companies that are reputable and and aren't perceived as being mercenary. I don't know how else to put it, and that's what's fabulous about your company that I really like.
Yeah, most people in my industry, when they get a phone call from a lawyer and the lawyer is on the other end saying, well, this case didn't work out because of such and such a reason, and I know you lent 1,000 and I know you're owed 2,000, but I really need you to take $1,200 because of whatever reason under the sun. When I get that phone call, and this is very unique to the industry, when I get that phone call, even though it's a net negative to me in a financial setting, I'm happy, because that phone call is the opportunity that I get to provide added value, that I get to remind the lawyer, aren't you happy that you use cash now and not fill in the blank? Because the answer is yes, and the answer is always going to be yes. And I'm happy to take the huge reduction so that you can get your case settled. Everyone's money is green. I'm happy that you use ours, and we move on to the next one, because that's just the opposite of the dynamic that most companies, they get that phone call and they say, well, how about 1650? It's like, what do you mean 1650? I just explained to you, I can pay you 1,200, you can have nothing. What do you want? So I don't even get there. It's never really a negotiation. It's, man, aren't you happy you use cash now? Because we don't have to have these conversations anymore. I know that you're not going to abuse the system because you know that I'm generous when you need me to be. And everybody, in the lawyer community wants to be, reasonable. It's when people take an unreasonable position that lawyers who are already kind of wired to get defensive and want to, whatever, promote the best interest of their clients and get a big reduction, they get on the defensive and they get offensive sometimes. And I never get into that space. I never ever get into that conversation. And for me, it's just about preservation of the relationship and adding value wherever I can. I know I kind of jump back to the second question, but I don't know that I can nail that down enough, because that is really, the biggest difference, that I'm happy to do whatever it is I do, even if it's, contrary to my financial position, so long as I'm keeping my clients happy. Because when you're a lawyer, you're not like, it's a career thing. You're not like, oh, I used to be a lawyer 10 years ago, and now I sell cars. Like, if you're a lawyer, you're a lawyer for like 42 years until you make enough money that you don't have to be next to the blue files anymore and you can go retire. It's not like some industries where, it's really a lifelong commitment. So I understand the idea that, like, the transactions don't really matter. This lawyer who, I've built rapport with, and he's 37 years old, is probably going to practice for 25 more years. So this day on this individual phone call, it doesn't matter in the scheme of things. The value is not in the 1,800 or 1,200 or whatever this conversation results in. It's in the idea that he never has to look elsewhere for a funding company, because I'm always going to do whatever he needs me to do for the scenario.
Well, I mean, you really talked about community involvement and your approach already, but my next question really talks about that. What sort of community involvement, volunteering, advocacy, that sort of thing that you've been involved in, or your company, which the two are linked, obviously.
Sure. So we do. We've done a bunch of really unique things, in connection with, charitable contribution in general. So, we're not allowed to provide any value to a lawyer in exchange for using our services, none. But what we have done is, in the event that lawyers send us, clients of theirs, whether or not funding transactions happen, we will donate for every application a set amount of dollars, call it $100, for the charity of their choice. So we'll say, okay, May of 2000, I think we did this for a bunch of consecutive months. So a couple times we did dealer's choice, where it was like they chose the charity. So I contact a client, a lawyer client, and I say, hey, for every application you sent, we're going to send $100 to the charity of your choice. Send us whomever and whoever to make it payable. So then we'll send them a spreadsheet at the end. You send us 11 applications, and we send $1,100 to XYZ. A couple months we chose the charity. So from everywhere, we've donated to wounded warriors. So for instance, like for a whole month, we got whatever, call it 1,000 applications, and we contributed $10,000 to a wounded warrior that month, because for every application that came in, we set aside a certain amount of dollars to go to that charity. So we were utilizing, that method to be directly charitable. We also sponsor all types of charitable events and all types of charitable organizations direct, from Cash Now. And we haven't had the opportunity to do too much in-person charity this year, because it's just been a weird year. Like, even a toy drive is remote this year. It's just a different landscape. But whenever we can give back, we've done, and we'll continue to do so.
So I know you're a family man and you've got various hobbies. Can you talk a little bit about whatever drives you? What are you passionate about? Any hobbies? And how does
Sure.
that impact your life or your practice, really, in the company?
Sure. So I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, and I'm married, dog, house, the whole nine. So between running my law firm and running Cash Now and making my wife happy and being there for my children and taking care of a household, it occupies the overwhelming majority of my time, probably more time than I actually have. And I'm spread thin in general, and that's probably my biggest flaw. I don't like to say no to people. I try to do everything. And at the same time, you can only do so much, and you have to really have a balance. So I like to lift weights, play golf. I used to play racquetball a lot. I haven't so much recently. So pretty much golf, weightlifting. I love my sports, all my Florida teams. That's the extent. I really don't have much recreational free time right now. I mean, my kids are super little. I get home from work at 5:30. They go to bed at 8. I haven't seen them all day. So it's like I have 2.5 hours. So I try to do, bed, bath, dinner, play routine. And by the time they go to bed, I haven't had dinner. And so, and I haven't even talked to my wife yet. So it's like by 9:30, I'm eating and having my first conversation. I've been out of the house since 8 a.m. And it's just, this is the time that, luckily they give it to you, when you could take it. So right now I'm 37. I can handle the hours. I can handle the sleeplessness and the high demand. But just trying to be here for my children's youth and not be one of those absent dads that was focused on making money so much so that they didn't really enjoy their family along the way. So I'm really trying to balance that. And I know a lot of people are, especially lawyers, because it's a demanding job for sure.
Definitely, definitely. So, is there anything else you'd like to add about yourself or your company and educate our lawyers, our audience about?
If anyone would like any information about, products, services, rates, anything like that, my personal cell phone, 954-240-3524 is for lawyers and staff. If you have a client in need, our 800 number, 844-677-CASH. And that's my direct cell phone. So if you ever want to talk about any one-off situation, I can do completely custom stuff. We're not bank finance. They don't have any rules. I have complete autonomy. So I have lawyers that call me and say, Jeff, this case is already settled. You can't charge blah, blah, blah. I want you to make $200. Can you lend my client $5,000? I'll get you your money back in 10 days. You can make $200. Say, sure, XYZ lawyer, it's free $200. I'm happy to have those conversations on a one-off setting anytime anyone wants to have them. I've even done free advances, So I have clients that send me regular business and they have a fantastic client with a fantastic case and they just want to make them happy. Say, Jeff, I have a 7-figure case. It's the only one in my office. I want to make him so happy. I want you to give him $5,000 and charge no interest. Say, no problem. I'm happy to do it. So if any lawyer wants to do anything with Cash Now or with me, that's my cell, 954-240-3524. And like I said, I understand what you go through because I live it from both sides. And I'm happy to be a part of the Broward County Bar Association. I can't wait for golf tournaments and live events to come back. I am in desperate need of a cocktail with people. Hopefully next year will be a lot better than this year in general.
You beat me to the punch on multiple things. I was going to ask you, throughout your website or however you want people to contact you. So you already put that out. And yes, I can't wait to get back to in person. Desperately want to be at that golf tournament too, my friend. So anyhow, this has been very enjoyable. Thank you for spending time with us to educate our viewers. Hopefully lots of lawyers are going to watch this, and I'm sure they will. And look, there's no one like Jeff and Cash Now. It is just the kind of company you want to work with. So please reach out to Jeff if you need so. And I want to thank you again, Jeff, and thank our viewers for watching us today.
All right. Well, thank you too, man. And I hope you're safe and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas, holiday, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is, everybody out there, and have a safe and happy New Year's as well.